Hello and welcome back to Power Skills with Janna. I'm Janna Jones, your leadership development specialist, coach, and mentor, and I'm thrilled that you're joining me for this game-changing episode. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful tools that you can wield, whether you're leading a team, transforming a culture, or simply crafting the life that you personally love. I have no doubt that you should be goal setting for success. Because here's the truth. What you focus on, you amplify, which is, of course, the title of the previous episode and highly recommended as one of my ultimate life hacks. But when you channel that focus into clear and intentional goals, you are not just dreaming, you are proactively building the life that you want to live. So buckle up because we are going to unpack the science, the strategies, and some stories behind setting goals that stick, using the SMARTer framework, breaking them down into sustainable steps, and celebrating some of your wins along the way. So let's reshape what's possible together, one goal at a time. First, I wanted to start with the why. Because goal setting isn't just about checking boxes or hitting targets. It's about giving your focus a clear and aligned purpose. It's about choosing where to direct your energy so that you're progressing towards the outcomes that you actually want. Neuroscience backs this up. Remember our friend, the reticular activating system, or your RAS? This is the part of your brain that filters millions of bits of information every second, bringing only the most relevant stuff into your awareness. When you set a clear goal, you're essentially programming your RAS to notice opportunities, resources, and actions that will align with it and help to propel you forward. It's like you're giving your brain a treasure map. Suddenly, it starts scanning for gold instead of all the other distractions. But it's not just science, because goal setting is deeply personal. I had a client who was a mid-level manager in tech who really felt stuck. She was working very hard. She was incredibly successful, but she wasn't moving forward. When we started working together, although she was an incredibly high performer, as I mentioned, she hadn't set a single clear goal for herself. She was just reacting to whatever was coming her way in the moment. So together we crafted a specific and strategic goal for her to lead a cross-functional project, broke it down into smaller, actionable steps, and celebrated her early wins. Her confidence skyrocketed. Within 6 months, she was promoted. That is the power of intentional focus. As a leader, or anyone with big dreams, actually, your goals shape not just your path, but the energy that you bring to your team, your family, and even for yourself. So let's get a little bit practical and start to talk about how to set goals that don't just sit on a vision board, but actually start to transform your reality. The SMARTer framework might just be your goal-setting superpower. To make your goals unstoppable, we are going to use the SMARTer framework. There are many, many different goal-setting frameworks, but this one is something that can be a little bit easier to remember. You may actually be familiar with SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Great acronym. Love an acronym. But SMARTer, with the ER on the end, adds what I consider to be the two most critical elements: evaluated and rewarded. So let's break it down together. The S stands for specific, because your goal really does need to be crystal clear. So instead of I want to be a better leader, you might try something like I want to improve my team's engagement scores by 10% by mentoring each team member weekly. Now we're getting really specific. That is something we could progress with. The M is for measurable. How will you know you've been successful? Defining metrics is so important. For example, I'll deliver 3 keynotes this year, or I'll save $5,000 for my professional development budget. The A is for achievable. Dream big, absolutely, but keep it a little bit realistic. This one is kind of my kryptonite because I'm a realist, but a dreamer at heart. So often my goals are way bigger than I can actually manage. But then I still appreciate a big audacious goal because to me, it's a bit like that analogy, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. But I also know that it's not for everyone, and absolutely why this achievable A is a firm staple. Because a goal that is too far out of reach can easily demotivate you or make you feel like you can't be successful. So why try? Perhaps you might instead like to ask yourself, is this possible with my current resources and time? The R is for relevant, or the first R is for relevant at least. Does the goal align with your bigger vision? If you're passionate about cultural transformation or leading people, a goal to set something more technical, such as learning advanced data analytics, might not serve you unless it directly relates to your work. Time bound. So incredibly important. Otherwise, it's a bit like saying, hey, let's catch up sometime soon. It will never happen. It's too ambiguous. Instead, set yourself a deadline for success, such as, I'll complete a leadership certification by June 2026. Having a finish line to aim for helps us so much. E is for evaluate. Regularly check your progress. Are you on track? What's working? What needs tweaking? This keeps your goals alive and adaptable. When we aren't on track, our goals may have shifted a little bit. We actually have the opportunity to course correct, but only if we're evaluating along the way. And the final R, recognize and reward. In my opinion, the most important thing that you can do to set yourself up for future successes is to celebrate your wins, big and small. Recognize and acknowledge your progress. Rewards reinforce your brain's motivation to keep going. They help you squash self-doubt in the future as you become more aware of just what you are capable of. So let's see this in action a little bit here. Imagine your goal is to build a stronger team culture. Using the SMARTer framework, you might refine it to something like, by Q2 FY 2026, I will increase my team's engagement score by 15% by hosting bi-monthly team building workshops and conducting one-on-one check-ins each fortnight, tracking progress quarterly, and celebrating milestones with team shoutouts. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, evaluated, and rewarded. That, my friends, is a goal that is ready to roll. Let's try another, using a personal example this time. Imagine your goal is to improve your health and well-being. Using SMARTer, you might refine it to, by Christmas, I'll be able to do a 15-kilometer fun run with my friends, snacking healthier and meditating often to ensure the shift is balanced, sustainable, and something I actually enjoy. My tip for players, remember that your measures can be data, but they can also be anecdotal. So in the personal example that I shared, our measures are sustainability and enjoyment. So if you're someone who leads towards all or nothing, perhaps this may be incredibly helpful for you as well. All right, let's jump straight into action planning, because breaking down goals into smaller and sustainable steps is key. A goal without a plan is just a wish. I'm sure you've heard that before. Your action steps are your plan. To turn your SMARTer goals into reality, you need an action plan that breaks them down into incremental and sustainable steps. So you would start by chunking it down. Big goals, big audacious goals, as much as we love them, can feel incredibly overwhelming. So it's important to slice them into smaller milestones. If your goal is to get promoted within the next year, your first milestone might be find a mentor by August, then commence leadership development program by November. Each step starts to feel more doable. Schedule it. Assign deadlines to each milestone and block time in your calendar. Treat these as non-negotiable appointments. For example, every Friday from 9 to 10 a.m., I will work on my leadership development program and my weekly self-reflection before meeting with my mentor. Number 3, build habits. Link your actions to daily or weekly routines because consistency is key. If your goal involves improving speaking in front of a group or engaging others because you have a step-up opportunity coming up and you'll be leading team meetings, perhaps practice once a week during your morning coffee time. Small, consistent actions compound over time. Anticipate the barriers and obstacles. Honestly, we've just been coaching our 15-year-old on this in terms of decision making. Really starting to anticipate the barriers and obstacles is so important because having some self-awareness around what might derail you, what time constraints you have, what are some of the resources that you'll need to plan for. Instead of burying your head in the sand, you can actually plan for them when you become aware of them. I know that you're swamped in Q4, right? So perhaps you then might like to front end your efforts in Q3 instead. If fear creeps in, pair up with an accountability buddy or share your commitments so you're much more likely to stick with them. Stay flexible. Number 5, because life happens. And if something isn't working, we can tweak it. Maybe a weekly check-in isn't feasible, but bi-weekly is. Feel free to adapt with agility. Review, reflect, and adjust without completely abandoning the goal. Let me share a little example. One of my clients wanted to transform their organization's feedback culture. This leader's smarter goal was to implement a 360-degree feedback system by July 2025, improving team trust scores by 20%. Their action plan, or at least a very high-level breakdown, was in month 1 to research feedback tools, in month 2 pitch it to leadership, month 3 pilot with one team, starting with a pilot team, month 4 review that pilot 360 and seek feedback. By breaking it down, that leader was able to turn a massive goal into a really clear path forward. And as an added bonus, there was great buy-in and they were already seeing results as part of that process. Now let's talk about the fun part, celebrating successes. This is not just about throwing a party, although I'm all for that if you are. Acknowledging what you've done well, the progress that you've made and your wins absolutely reinforces your brain's reward system, making it so much easier to stay motivated, as well as creating some excellent fodder for positive self-talk in the future. Here's how to do it right. Acknowledge the small wins. Did you complete your first milestone? Share it with your team or treat yourself to a coffee, whatever works for you. These micro rewards can keep momentum going. Reflect on progress. At each evaluation point of your smarter goal, pause to note what it is that you've achieved, what you've learned. Write it down or share it with a mentor. Reflection builds confidence and a growth mindset, especially where we focus on progress over perfection. Make it meaningful. Rewards should resonate with you. If you love learning, reward yourself with a new book. If connection is your thing, celebrate with dinner with friends. Perhaps you might even like to share the love, involving others in your celebrations. If your goal was team focus, recognize and acknowledge everyone's contributions. It builds camaraderie, engagement, and amplifies the positive impact. I'll never forget a client leading a recently merged team who celebrated her first successful workshop by framing a thank you note from her team. That small act kept her motivated for months. Your brain thrives on these moments and they propel you forward into so many more possibilities. So don't do yourself the disservice of skipping them in favor of busy. As always, I want to share with you some practical, actionable practices to make goal setting the cornerstone of your success, the power practices to amplify your goal setting. Write your SMARTer goal down. Grab a notebook, your favorite app, or craft your SMARTer goal today in your notes section in your phone. Be specific and vivid. For example, by September 2025, I will lead a cultural transformation workshop for 50 leaders measured by participant feedback scores above 4.5 out of 5. Create a visual anchor. Make your goal visible. It could be a sticky note on your desk, as simple as that. You could dig deep into a vision board, especially if it's a big, audacious goal that you're going to progress with over time. Maybe it's smaller and a phone reminder would do, but something that keeps it front and center for you. Remember, we want to keep our RAS scanning for opportunities to progress this goal. What you focus on, you amplify. Schedule a weekly check-in. Set aside 10 minutes every week to review your own progress. Ask, what's worked? What is next? What might I need to adjust? This also keeps your RAS locked on your goal. Find your cheer squad. Share your goal with a trusted friend, mentor, or colleague. Shared commitments are far more likely to stick, as we all want to be that person who does what we say we will do. Their encouragement will help to keep you accountable and inspired. Celebrate early and often. Consider planning out a small reward for your next milestone. It could be as simple as a walk in nature or as big as a weekend getaway. Make it yours. Perhaps you might like to pause and reflect with me for a moment. Grab yourself a pen or just think through these questions. What's one goal that's been on your heart that feels out of reach? How could you make it smarter? What's one small step you could take this week to move towards that goal? How might you celebrate when you hit your first milestone? What energy are you bringing to your goals? Excitement, fear, possibility? How can you shift towards a growth mindset? These questions are not just food for thought. They are your fuel for action. Your answers will shape the path ahead for you. Here's my challenge this week, should you choose to accept it. Pick one goal, personal or professional, and write it out as a SMARTer goal. Break it down into at least 3 actionable steps that you can take this month. Celebrate your first step, no matter how small. Share your progress with someone you trust, or me, if you like. I promise that first step will feel like rocket fuel, propelling you forward into more of what is possible. Remember, we are picking one small goal, personal or professional, writing it out as a SMARTer goal. 3 actionable steps this month. Celebrate your first step, no matter how hard, and share your progress. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me on this journey a la Power Skills with Janna. Goal setting is not just a skill, it is a superpower. When you set smarter goals, Break them down into sustainable steps and celebrate your wins. You are not just achieving, you're amplifying the life and the leadership that you want to create. If this episode has sparked something in you, I would love to hear about it. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook via Power Skills Development, or visit www.powerskillsdevelopment.com for more tools, resources, and free downloads. And don't forget to subscribe to Power Pause. That is my weekly leadership reflection email. It is your 2 to 5 minute nudge to stay intentional and keep your focus where it matters. Until next time, stay curious, stay intentional, and remember, what you focus on, you amplify. So choose your goals wisely, set them powerfully, take intentional action, and let's build the future that you want, one step at a time.